Officer Goodman passes Senator Mitt Romney and directs him to turn around.
During day 2 of Donald Trump's second impeachment trial, we actually got some new security footage showing a couple of near misses that we didn't know about before. So I'm going to show those clips here. First up, let's get to it. This is going to be one of the House impeachment managers, Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, discussing Mitt Romney and what happened in his situation.
In this security footage, you can see Officer Goodman running to respond to the initial breach. Officer Goodman passes Senator Mitt Romney and directs him to turn around in order to get to safety. On the first floor, just beneath them, the mob had already started to search for the Senate chamber.
So this was a new bit of info and some new footage there showing Mitt Romney essentially walking into where the rioters were going and Eugene Goodman, the officer running in the opposite direction, turning Mitt Romney around. You may recognize Eugene Goodman's name. He's the officer that led rioters up the stairs in the Capitol into the wrong direction, away from members of Congress. So again, here you have him potentially saving a life in Senator Mitt Romney. Now, the importance of Democrats showing footage like this, I guess from their perspective, is to try and change the minds of Republican senators to support convicting Trump. I don't think it's really going to work. Republicans are afraid of their base, essentially the Trump base at this point. The vast majority of Republican voters support Donald Trump, still think he won the election. So even if the most credit you can really give them is that they're simply afraid of the base killing them, because that's what it's gotten to at this point. But ultimately here you have a bunch of cowards that simply are not going to stand up to their own base, are not going to stand up to Donald Trump and the power that he still holds over the party, and will most likely vote against conviction of Trump. But just so you understand why a video like this is used, is to try and convince Republican senators. Now, next clip here.
You can see Vice President Pence and his family quickly move down the stairs. The Vice President turns around briefly as he's headed down. As Pence was being evacuated, rioters started to spread throughout the Capitol. Those inside helped other rioters break in through doors in several locations around this entire building. And the mob was looking for Vice President Pence because of his patriotism, because the Vice President had refused to do what the President demanded and overturn the election results. During the assault on the Capitol, extremists reportedly coordinated online and discussed how they could hunt down the Vice President. Journalists in the Capitol reported they heard rioters say they were looking for Pence in order to execute him. Trump's supporters had erected a gallows on the lawn in front of the Capitol building. Another group of rioters chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," as they stood in the open door of the Capitol building. You can hear the security alarm from the door in the background, and you can hear the mob calling for the death of the Vice President of the United States.
Now, this part had been reported before, that rioters were calling for the hanging or the death of Mike Pence. But this makes it, a lot more clear where Mike Pence was, how he had to evacuate with his family. Meanwhile, you have rioters trying to get Mike Pence. And again, this is used by Democrats to try and sway them. I got to mention just the one thing here in this clip that bothered me. Stacey Plaskett here calling Mike Pence a patriot. I get it. she's doing it to try and make a convincing argument about, look what these rioters were going to do to one of your own. But Mike Pence stood by enabling Donald Trump for 4 years. We just going to ignore that now? So, but in the context of what she's trying to do here, I guess it makes sense. But outside of this context, let's not, try and rescue Mike Pence's reputation. He is full on to blame for this just as much as Donald Trump is. He stood by and did nothing to stop any of this for 4 years. Now, let me get to the next clip here. I believe this is going to be Chuck Schumer, who also had a close call.
Additional security footage shows how Leader Schumer and the members of his protective detail had a near miss with the mob. They came within just yards of rioters and had to turn around. Here in this new video, you see Leader Schumer walking up a ramp. Going up the ramp with his detail, he'll soon go out of view. Seconds later, they return and run back down the hallway, and officers immediately shut the door and use their bodies to keep them safe.
Another example of a prominent politician almost coming into contact with rioters. Chuck Schumer running into the riot, quickly turning around out that door, and the officers closing the door behind him. The more of these that pile up, the more you realize just how close this came to members of Congress being injured or killed during this riot. And really, it's just several examples of good luck as to why they didn't. Now, just to sum all of this up, Jamie Dupree here tweeting out 4 things we learned today. Speaker Pelosi was evacuated entirely from the Capitol complex. Officer Goodman may have saved Mitt Romney's life. Schumer and his security detail had to run from rioters. Pence was holed up just off the Senate floor with attackers in the halls. One other thing, it looks to me from the video shown today that when Officer Goodman lured rioters toward the Ohio clock corridor, he safeguarded VP Pence as well. If the rioters had gone to the right, they would have been mere steps from where Pence was taking shelter. So showing you again just how close all of this was. And ultimately, what I care about, is this going to help at all when it comes to convicting Donald Trump and preventing him from running again? I'm going to say no. I think, Democrats need 17 Republicans on board. They need 67 votes in the Senate to convict Donald Trump. Are they really going to get 17 Republican senators? These politicians they're too afraid of their own base. They're afraid of the Trump base. And you can see why. They were chasing them through the halls. So, and that isn't to excuse their inaction here, but that is to say they are cowards, and they will not stand up to their own base. They will not stand up for, sanity, for the rational, logical conclusion to all of this, which is to convict Donald Trump. They will not do that. Ultimately here, they are afraid of their base, both for their lives, but also because that's where their voters are. So they will uphold all of this. They will continue all of this, continue enabling all of this. And ultimately, things are not going to get any better until people are held accountable, including lawmakers that helped incite this riot.